This is Plant-Based Briefing, Natural Migraine Relief, How Diet and Lifestyle Can Help with Symptoms, Part 1 by Ocean Robbins at foodrevolution.org. And I'm Marian Erickson, your host. This is the curated content plant-based podcast where I narrate articles on healthy, compassionate, and sustainable living with permission in about 10 minutes or less every weekday. And today's article would have been longer than that, so it's a two-parter. I'll read part 1 today and then tune in tomorrow for the second half. And now let's get to today's plant-based briefing. Natural Migraine Relief, How Diet and Lifestyle Can Help with Symptoms, Part 1 by Ocean Robbins at foodrevolution.org. Summary: migraines are the worst. Unfortunately, people who suffer from them are advised to rely on medications that offer limited relief and come with unwanted side effects. Are there more natural ways to treat migraines that work? Read on to discover the evidence about holistic and natural approaches, including diet, exercise, and stress management. Calling a migraine a headache is like calling Mount Everest a hill. The migraine experience is far beyond a regular headache's pressure, throbbing, or pounding. The awful combination of intense pain, sensitivity to light and sound, and debilitating neurological symptoms can turn an ordinary day into a marathon of misery. Globally, migraines rank as the second leading cause of disability right behind low back pain, and migraines are also muscling their way up to one of the top reasons for missing work. While migraine medications can offer some relief, they're far from perfect. Because they don't always help and bring unwanted side effects of their own, many people wish they could find more natural ways to manage their symptoms and triggers. Of course, there's an avalanche of purported migraine cures and treatments on the internet. The problem is separating proven remedies and lifestyle changes from treatments that don't work but are peddled to people desperate for relief. In this article, we'll explore types of migraines, potential causes, and natural migraine remedies that can help alleviate symptoms and sometimes prevent them entirely. What are migraines? Unlike common tension or sinus headaches, migraine headaches represent a complex neurological disorder. They're characterized by episodes of moderate to severe head pain. The fascinating part, scientifically speaking, is that they typically occur on just one side of the head. In fact, the name migraine comes from the ancient Greek word for half the head, hemicrania. The French dropped the HE at the beginning and softened the K to G, giving us migraine. In addition to that half-headed pain, migraines can also feature nausea, vomiting, mood changes, extreme fatigue, changes in speech patterns, including slurred speech and in some cases the inability to form words, and hypersensitivity to sensory input such as light, noise, and odors. Migraines typically progress sequentially. There are 4 named stages of migraines: prodrome, aura, headache, and postdrome, although only 25% of migraines include the second stage, the aura. Prodrome. This stage involves subtle warning signs like mood changes, food cravings, or fatigue occurring hours or even days before a migraine. Aura. Visual disturbances such as flashing lights or zigzag patterns and sensory or speech changes that precede or accompany the headache characterize this stage. There may also be motor, brainstem, or retinal disturbances. Headache. The main phase involves intense, throbbing pain on one side of the head, often accompanied by nausea, vomiting, and sensitivity to light and sound. And postdrome. Following the headache, this stage leaves people feeling drained and exhausted, sometimes with lingering symptoms like confusion or moodiness. 2 other migraine types worth mentioning are chronic and probable migraines. A chronic migraine is defined as a headache that occurs on 15 or more days in a month for more than 3 months. A probable migraine is a headache resembling a migraine in many aspects, but lacking some specific criteria necessary for a definite migraine diagnosis. What causes migraines? While the causes of migraines can vary from person to person, there are some common triggers, including stress, certain foods, dehydration, hormonal changes, and environmental factors. Some people find that their episodes are triggered by low blood sugar and/or skipped meals, not enough sleep, and consumption of alcohol or tobacco. Of course, listing triggers is not the same as explaining the root causes, or if I were trying to impress you, I'd use the fancy medical term pathogenesis. We know that migraines involve multiple nervous system components, including the peripheral and central nervous systems. The working theory is that their origin lies in some kind of neuronal impairment that causes inflammatory signals in the brain, similar to what happens with epilepsy. While researchers are exploring these pathways, we're far from understanding how they function and how to influence them in helpful ways. Natural ways to treat and prevent migraines. Migraine medications can be helpful, but they don't always work, and they all come with a range of potential side effects, including, ironically, more frequent headaches due to medication overuse. Fortunately, over the past couple of decades, science has amassed evidence that lifestyle and dietary interventions can effectively treat and sometimes even prevent migraines. This is not a one-size-fits-all matter, however. If you suffer from migraine symptoms, the first step in getting long-term relief is to identify your specific triggers. Based on those, you can begin implementing changes that have been found, in many cases, to make a positive difference. As we'll see, specific foods, especially ginger, could be the most significant factor in your control, so we have a section on it later. Number 1, sleep hygiene. Not getting enough quality sleep is a significant risk factor for getting a migraine. A 2022 study found that people who had trouble sleeping were nearly 4 times more likely to have migraines than those who slept well. The association goes in both directions, since a bad migraine can make sleep almost impossible. Even in the immediate absence of symptoms, anxiety about getting a migraine can also keep people staring at the ceiling and counting porcupines instead of getting shut-eye. For more information on hacking your sleep, check out our article, How to Sleep Better with Diet and Lifestyle, linked here. 2. Hydration. Another natural way to prevent migraines is to stay well hydrated. A 2020 study compared migraine frequency and symptoms in women aged 18 to 45 who were visiting neurology clinics for the first time to get a migraine diagnosis. Researchers found that women who drank more water experienced less severe migraines and had fewer headache days. What's more, their headaches didn't last as long as those who drank less water. For more about how hydration affects your health, read our in-depth article, Quench Your Thirst, The Science and Benefits of Proper Hydration, linked here. Stress management. Many migraine sufferers start getting prodrome symptoms following a period of chronic or acute stress. Major life stressors can transform migraines from episodic to chronic, keeping people at or close to their personal red zone all the time. By stress, I mean specifically an elevation of blood levels of fight or flight hormones like cortisol and epinephrine. That physiological response to a perceived threat is critical to survival, but when it's triggered multiple times a day and never gets balanced by rest and digest relaxation from the parasympathetic nervous system, it can lead to symptoms that have no or negative survival value. Some researchers consider migraines a maladaptive brain response to perceived threats. That means that stress isn't solely a feature of the environment, but includes your perception and interpretation of what's happening around you. But that's good news, because while you can't always change your environment, you have much more control over your internal state. Studies show that stress management is an effective way to get natural migraine relief. A 2020 study found that different kinds of training, including standard stress management like relaxation exercises, time management, cognitive reframing, and mindfulness meditation, reduced migraine frequency in volunteers who experienced episodic migraines. And a 2022 meta-analysis of 5 randomized controlled trials found that yoga significantly reduced how often migraine sufferers got headaches. 4. Acupuncture. Recent clinical trials have demonstrated that acupuncture can be more effective than standard care or placebo treatments in reducing migraine frequency and severity. It works by calming overactive brain regions and improving blood flow, offering a natural alternative for those seeking non-pharmacological options. 5. Regular physical activity. Exercise can also reduce migraine frequency. A study of over 20,000 participants found that light exertion, without sweating or getting out of breath, was most beneficial for migraine relief. Researchers aren't yet sure what the exertion threshold is, however. A later study found that heavy exercise, especially endurance activities like long-distance running, could trigger migraines in some sufferers. However, a 2023 review of therapeutic recommendations published in the Journal of Headache Pain listed both light and moderate intensity continuous aerobic activity as generally protective against migraines. In particular, yoga decreased pain intensity, frequency, duration, and disability related to migraines. 6. Vibrational therapy. Some individuals have found relief using vibrational therapy devices. While more research is needed, early findings suggest potential benefits in migraine management. You just listened to Natural Migraine Relief, How Diet and Lifestyle Can Help with Symptoms, Part 1 by Ocean Robbins at foodrevolution.org. And I'm your host, Marian Erickson. Tune in tomorrow for the second half of this episode, where you'll hear about some more natural remedies, including some dietary adjustments, specific foods that are helpful, and some recipes. So check that out tomorrow, and please share this episode with anyone who might benefit, and thanks for listening.